Security? There's kids with soup here? Yeah, those are two climate activists with Just Stop Oil at the National Gallery in London. The two were arrested for the protest, but don't worry about that Van Gogh painting. The painting is behind a pane of glass. The National Gallery confirmed to Vice World News that the painting is unharmed, but there is minor damage to the frame. Here are the activists explaining their actions there.
What is worth more, art or life? Is it worth more than food? Worth more than justice? Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people? The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil crisis. Fuel is unaffordable to millions of cold, hungry families. They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup.
So as we mentioned, those activists are with Just Stop Oil. We've got more reporting from Vice on this. Just Stop Oil activists campaign to ensure that the United Kingdom government commits to ending all new licenses and consents for fossil fuel production. They have joined other climate activists around the world in a number of attention-grabbing stunts at museums and galleries over the last few months. A few of the other protests that you might have not seen in the news. In July, 5 members of Just Stop Oil glued themselves to a copy of The Last Supper at the London Royal Academy of Arts. Also in July, protesters from Ultima Generazione, the last generation in Italy, glued themselves to the glass covering of Botticelli's Primavera at Gallery degli Uffizi in Florence. Do you think this is an effective form of protest? I'm gonna share my thoughts, but we've got a poll for you all to fill out yourselves. We wanna hear from you, so give your answer there. I'm gonna share mine. I've spent some time as an organizer, and when you do a direct action, you need to make people in power uncomfortable. It needs to be relevant to the cause that you're trying to bring attention to. And I really don't think this does precisely that.
Oh, that's interesting. I really didn't know which way you were going to go on that, because that's why we have the poll question. Because I think a lot of people might say, well, look, that got a lot of attention, right? And so, and by the way, it's at tyt.com/polls. And if you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook, we'll have the link down in the description box. You should always check out the description box for more details. Okay, so on this one, look, I'm conflicted on it. I think that they got a ton of attention to it, and a lot of the papers. In fact, someone wrote an article about how the media was stating their cause too much. Like they're like, oh my God, don't state what they're saying, said probably oil lobbyists. But anyway, on the other hand, I agree with Jessica. The framing is super important, right? So when I first read the headline, it didn't explain that the painting was behind plexiglass. And I panicked. I had the same reaction Helen did and the people in the gallery. Okay. And the reason I panicked is not because I love art so much. And I like Van Gogh, God bless, okay? That's not the issue. The issue is, if people think you are damaging things that are important to world culture, you start looking a little bit like the Taliban, okay? So I'm just keeping it real with you guys. Remember when they tore down the historic statues, the whole world went bananas and hated them, right? You don't want to be hated. Now you got to make people uncomfortable, so it's a tough balancing act. I'm not saying it's easy, right? So they did half the job here in getting the attention, but you got to have people root for you instead of rooting against you. So that's why when I see headlines everywhere saying that environmental activists are attacking a Van Gogh painting and people think they really ruined it, that's not the best look.
I thought they completely ruined it. I did not know about the plexiglass, and I thought they completely ruined it. And I was like, oh! And then I was like, yeah, I've seen that painting. It's not one of Van Gogh's best. I'm not gonna lie.
I like that you went through all that in your head.
It's not, it's not Starry Night. So I was cool with it. And it did grab a lot of attention. In fact, part of me was a little bit disappointed when I learned about the plexiglass, which I did just now when Jessica, you said it. I was like, oh man, that's
You thought they were more badass?
Yeah, I thought they were really like ruining a Van Gogh painting, and I was like, oh my God, that's so ballsy. Like they really, they were going hard, and they were going for the attention, and they got it. Like they grabbed me, and I was like, part of their message is correct in that, we hold these things to be so important, but there are, tell that to starving families of, refugees of the climate crisis who are like never gonna get to see that Van Gogh painting because they're starving and their kids are freezing, and they're like, who cares? So part of the message I got and I understood, and when I thought that the painting was really ruined, I was like, yeah, you stick it to them. But
yeah, I got an idea, because I always want to do constructive critique, because I know they worked hard on that, and I know that they got a lot of attention, and it's sorely needed, and they're absolutely right about the core of the issue, and I wish everybody would wake up to it. So like, here's an idea. Every time there's a disaster, a weather disaster that is likely linked to climate change, people die. What they should do is they should find pictures of those people and then deliver it to the politicians who voted basically to perpetuate climate change, right? And say, here's the people that you killed. And then give, maybe include like a picture of the check that they got from oil companies, because they're all taking campaign contributions. And keep showing the pictures of dead people that they caused, because that's real.
Yeah.
And that's also powerful. And it makes people go, oh, wow. Oh, because whenever the mainstream media wants us to invade a country, they show dead babies, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, look at what this country did. Oh, look at Saddam Hussein, he's such a monster, right? Oh, look at what he did to the babies, and etc., right? Yemen, you haven't seen a single picture of a baby on mainstream media, right? The Saudis have killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, including babies. They're starving them. They're doing blockades. We can show you tons and tons of pictures of dead babies from Yemen. Mainstream media accuracy never showed a single picture of that, right? And so why? Because Saudis are allies, supposedly, right? And they like the war in Yemen, and the defense contractors love it, and they're advertisers, right? So that's how that goes. So flip that on them and do it that way. So that's one idea.
I think that's such a great idea. And there's this movie coming out, the Emmett Till movie, which I'm like really excited to see. I mean, not excited, but like I think it's important for everyone to see. And that was what moved the needle on a lot of the civil rights movement, was that Emmett Till's mother was like, showed pictures of her son's dead body and how mutilated it was, and goes, look at what they did to my baby. Look at what they did to my baby. And those pictures were on newspaper headlines, in front pages of newspapers, and that's what moved the needle on a lot of the civil rights movement. And so I think that's a great idea. Let's show the pictures of these bodies,
I think you should all take the action for what it was, judge it, vote in the poll, tyt.com/polls, art/over/planet, or dash, not slash. Art over planet. But I'm gonna share some details here that, I don't know, they shouldn't sway you one way or another, but people are hypothesizing that this is a psyop from the right to make activists look silly, because Just Stop Oil is funded by Climate Emergency Fund, which was founded by Eileen Getty, who is the heiress to the Getty oil fortune. The odds might be low that this is a right-wing psyop, but I think it might tell us why this direct action wasn't, I don't know, blocking an oil pipeline or something to that effect. I think it could just be because it's funded by an out-of-touch heiress.
Yeah, no, I have no idea about that, because a lot of the people who are heirs to the fortunes, they're like 18 generations down, and a lot of them have turned into progressives. By the way, that's the great news about all these terrible people like Adelsons, Kochs, and Mercers and stuff like that. Their grandkids are very likely progressive. So that money's gonna go down to them at one point, and then they're screwed. I mean, cross your fingers, right? So I have no idea about that particular person. It's an interesting theory. They did talk about the price of oil that I thought it was a little curious. So I'm not judging either way. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.